back for another episode of Let's Talk with David Goff. And today we have the privilege of having Miss Hope Oriabure. Hope I didn't
Very good.
the name up today. And I met Hope some years ago, and I've been kind of following her career a little bit and what she's been doing. And I thought she'd be an interesting person for this podcast. How you doing today, Hope?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful, especially glad to have you with me.
Thank
Uh,
you for having me.
I believe I met you years ago when you were doing marketing. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Some
had a
more
picture with you. So how long ago is that? I don't even know how many years it's been.
That probably we're in the 8 to 10 year range.
Right. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Are you still doing marketing?
For myself and for my projects. And if someone calls for a
Right.
little bit of help, I'll
Well,
give a little bit of help.
like I say, on this show, we want to kind of let people know that there are people around them every day, people walking past them in the grocery store that do some things that they never even thought of or never thought was possible. And that possibility is one of the things we want to project and let people know that there are a lot of possibilities. They don't have to feel stuck. Um, in what you do, I guess one of the reasons, like I told you, that I've got you on today is because of the business that you created. And I thought it was very interesting, an interesting concept that never thought of, something that's needed. Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, so the business that I own that you're referring to, because I have a couple of businesses, is Black Tie Babysitting Incorporated, and I started that company 14 years ago. So when you had met me, we were still in our infancy. And
Okay.
so, but we've definitely grown. I remember well, I'll tell you what the business is, and I can kind of tell you how we have evolved to what we are now and what we're doing now. So, 14 years ago, I was a struggling single mom. And I wasn't just struggling, like people always think that when you're struggling as a single mom, and first of all, I want to say that you don't always have to struggle just because you're a single mom. Everybody has struggles, right?
Right.
Mine were just anchored with the fact that I was a single mom because I had so many responsibilities. And so I had at one point 4 children under the age of 8
Mm,
by myself.
right.
And it was just, I was struggling mentally, socioeconomically, I was okay. But just to manage their lives and be there for them and deal with my own personal guilt of that they didn't get to wake up to their father every day.
Right.
I carried that as a guilt, as a slight on me. It took me some time to grow up and understand that wasn't me at all.
Right.
And so I was working in corporate America, working really hard, and then two things happened that were catalysts for me starting my company. So one, I was in new business development sales for a Fortune 500 company under a lot of stress, but it was the job that I could get, that I could, one, make a very good base salary, but also have the opportunity to make commission, and a very big commission that could help with my little farm. That's what I called us back then. We were a farm. Farm has very many jobs and a lot to do. And so I was doing this job, and then my sister was getting married. And she was getting married while she was engaged. I was pregnant, I was separated. It was crazy. And I was
Right.
hormonal. And she was having conversations in front of me. And she was like, "Well, I just don't want any kids at my wedding." And I was like, so I went off on her, basically, probably hormones, but I did have a legitimate statement. And I was just like, the reality, what it is like to get an invitation when you have children that says no children allowed, and
Right.
almost blacklists you,
Right.
you know? And as a, even that dynamic too, as a parent, like people start saying, they start taking away your RSVP before you even said you want to go. I would get calls
Right.
like, "Hey, Hope, I'm having this party, but I know you have the kids, so you probably can't go. So we'll hook up for lunch another time." Like, why did you even call me? You didn't even give me an opportunity to say no, which I probably was going to say no, but
Yeah.
still.
Yeah.
And so I just expressed to her um, how upsetting that was and how disappointing it is, and also the extra added pressure of guest parents, what that puts on them. Because now not only are you paying somebody to watch your kids to go to this event that won't let children attend, you want to look like something, right? So you
Right.
dress nice, spend some
Yeah.
money, and then you're buying something nice for the couple. And sometimes when you add all those dollars together, it no longer financially makes sense for you to attend these events.
Right.
It's not just a social, it can also be social economical. So at the time where she was getting married was in downtown Dallas, and we had gotten the whole building for her wedding the day of, and it was
Mhm.
multi-leveled. She got married on the rooftop, and then the reception was in the bottom floor later on that evening after their ceremony. But they had the center floor, and when I was doing the walkthrough with her and my brother-in-law, I was like, "Huh, what's this area right here in this
Right.
room with this door on it?" And they were like, "Oh, I mean, you can put anything you want. We have a lot of people who just put decorations and stuff in it, so they don't have to haul it to their car." Like, "Oh, we're not putting decorations in, we're putting little people in here. This is what we're going to do." And because I shared with my sister, like, we are Nigerian Americans, like,
Uh-huh.
all of these families come with 6+ kids. You know what I'm saying? You can't just say, "Hey, no kids."
Right.
And especially at that time. Now more people are getting it and actually listening and following directions. But so she was like, "Well, you figure it out." And that was what I figured out. At that time, I had a part-time nanny that helped me with my kids.
Mhm.
And so I called her. I was like, "Hey, I need you." And she would go with me to events to help me manage my brood. Um, but I was like, "I need you and some backup. Do you have friends that don't do drugs? I need some people I can put in a room with
Right.
these kids for the duration of my sister's wedding." She was like, "Sure, yeah, I got some friends." And so that night, I mean, I'm telling you, it was a piece of paper. You wrote your name and your cell phone number and your kids' names, and that was it. And I brought a slow cooker of hot dogs, we had chips, and I packed up my kids' toys and we put them in there. And all the parents, when at the end of the night, when they're picking up their kids, are like, "Oh my gosh, this is such a great business. Whose company is this? Whose
Mm.
company is this? Whose
Right.
company is this?" I was like, "Oh, it's mine. Just leave all your contact information on there and we will get back with you." I didn't have a business plan, I didn't have any
Right.
financing. All I knew is I had an idea that I saw work for other people.
Right.
So at that time, I worked at a web design firm and I went in to my IT guys, was like, "I need a website, like tomorrow. I
Right.
need this stuff." And so it kind of just built from there. And so that year we did my sister's wedding and then we did one other family member's event, but we didn't do anything else.
Mhm.
And like I said, there was another catalyst. It was my sister's wedding for the need for some type of childcare in place for
Right.
children guests. But the other catalyst was that my 4-year-old got diagnosed with autism.
Mm.
And I really felt like I wasn't upset because of the diagnosis. You know, God puts us on earth the way he needs us to be.
Right.
And then you figure out why he needed you to be that way. So his glory, he can be glorified through that.
Mhm.
And so I wasn't upset about that. I was upset that I didn't realize it sooner, that
Right.
I didn't notice it because I knew all the signs. I was educated. I knew these things, you know, but because my life was moving and we were on this farm and it had so many jobs that have to be done on the farm,
Right.
um, I missed it and I was devastated. And then I was like, with me working this job, the way I'm working this job in corporate America, I missed my son's diagnosis.
Right.
How am I going to be able to support him? Because I still have the same time crunch, right? So
Right.
I was like,
Another
"Oh,
thing
you do
added,
have."
right?
Right. It was
Yeah.
like, "Hope, you do have this thing over here. What a business. You
Right.
just have this thing over here, you know? You could grow it into something where you make your own hours. You can be there for your son when you need him. You can go to therapy with him. You can go to symposiums and gatherings where there are other parents and y'all are figuring out what works together. Things I could not be privy to because
Right.
I worked in corporate America and it was work every day, all day. I mean, I had a part-time nanny to extend my ability to be able to work after they got out of school. She was still with them.
Right.
And so I decided, okay, you have this thing, let's grow this thing. And so year 3, I think it was, I got into a women business incubator for young entrepreneurs.
Right.
And that was just that piece that I needed. It made me do an about face, be realistic about what I could do with this business, what I needed to do with this business. And they made me ask myself hard questions. What is essential to your business?
Right.
Um, what do what do you need? How do you need to present it? I mean, I can sell and I still can sell. I tell everybody I can't be sold. I only buy, but I can sell. So I knew that it would never be about selling my business. It would be about getting it in a way where it's presentable once I'd done the sale, then how the business looked, closed it.
Right.
And so, I went through the incubator and then slowly but surely we started growing. And then I remember looking at the money. I remember looking and saying, oh my God, we just made in this month what I made my first 3 years in this business, right?
Right.
So then you're like, oh, I'm one of these people that I move slow. I mean, I move quiet. I keep my head down. I'm not a humble bragger. Let me get on Facebook and tell everybody I got this new
Right.
Mercedes because God bless me. I'm not one of those people.
Right.
And but I actually stopped at that point. It's like, oh, okay, Hope, you done a little something with this. You've done a little something with this. You made a little money, and then it became not just making money that was sufficient for my family, but growing my team and actually having a business that supported other people. And
Right.
I mean, 99.9 of my sitters are women. So I started to support women who needed additional income.
Right.
And, I mean, people who work for me range from, we don't hire anybody under 18. There's reasons for that. I have some selling points. I won't go into that. But they're age 20 upwards of, I have some people who are 45, 50
Right.
working for me, and they all have different motivations, different reasons, but this opportunity works for them. And so we just kept on growing from there. And like I said, we did 2 events my first year. Now, I mean, I don't even keep the number on the amount of events that
Right.
we do. I mean, we're booked typically every weekend. And before COVID, I just got this crazy idea. The thing about being an entrepreneur, I don't think even it's about being an entrepreneur. I think it's when you get to the point in your life that you're like, I'm not going to live in fear anymore. If
Right.
there's something I want to do, I'm just going to do it. And I knew when I was a single mom, I was constantly in fear. I was like in fear of, what if I can't do this anymore? What if my kids are suffering because they don't have a dad? What if we run out of money because there's not another income in this house? What if I lose my job? Like, I woke up every day with fear.
Right.
And what entrepreneurism did, it taught me to be bold and not to be scared, even of failure. At least try.
Right.
You're doing what most people only talk about. And I mean, I had naysayers when I started. I had a friend of mine tell me, and everybody's like, when I tell them the story, they're like, "That's your friend." Yeah, sometimes your friends can be mean. Let me tell you.
Oh
And I had
yeah.
a friend of mine, and he told me, he said, "Hope, no one is ever going to pay you to watch kids." And I'm at a wedding, and I was like, "Okay." And I remember when I got my first $10,000 customer. It was corporate. It was for a conference. I told my dad, I said, "Daddy, these people just paid me $10,000." Like, it was a shock, like,
Right.
I took this money. Now I got to perform.
Right.
And I
Right.
remember my father looking at me and saying, "So what is it that you're doing for him?" Like, he couldn't even fathom the idea that childcare, someone would pay $10,000 for childcare for 3 days.
Right.
And it was just like, Daddy, this is the only company I own at that time. Like, what do you think I'm doing for them? You know what I'm saying? But so it's just one of those things where it taught me, and I still glean from being able to own my business and those lessons and things like that. And I mean, I worked for 19 years in corporate America alongside owning my company for 14 years. And so it was one of those things where I could walk away from it. I think a lot of people are like, well, if I can't do my business full time, then that's not a real business.
Right.
We need to, I think we've all gotten away from that idea of the side hustle. Like, it's just hustle now. There's no side to it. There's nothing that doesn't make my business real because I wasn't going to it and doing it all day, every day. I was
Right.
still doing it. I had a full time passion, even if
right.
I was doing it part-time.
See,
And what I used to tell
there's a lot that you have gone through just in this short span,
right,
telling the journey, where you say that, you had this passion for it. And you talked about it in a way that you're not just doing this, oh, I made this money or I made that money. You're talking about what you're doing, what you're giving people, what you're providing to other people's lives, what you're adding to life versus what you're taking away from it. And, one of the things that I truly believe is that if you solve other people's problems, you make money.
that's good stuff.
Money is a
That's good stuff.
byproduct. Money is a byproduct of service. And you chose a service that you needed in the beginning,
Mhm.
something that you had a passion for, and then it became bigger because you also have a passion to help other people, provide
Right.
opportunities for other people. So it just kind of is the perfect storm, is what I'm hearing, you know. And, and,
Yeah,
and on
it
top
did.
of
I
that,
I
yeah,
think that's it.
on, on top,
I think that's key, what you said, that when you help people, it's a different ballgame. Because there may be dips in times where you're not making the money that you could have.
right,
I mean, during COVID, it shut events down. And I mourned for the first 2 weeks when everything shut down. I was like, this business that I took this time to build is going away.
right,
Nobody's going to remember Black Tie for 2 years if we can do events. I mean, what is
right,
that? What is that? And I had an industry friend call me and she said, "Hope." She was like, "Don't cry." She was like, "Stay strong, hold on, because when we get through this, people are going to miss being with each other, and you're going to see more people want to invite kids and
right,
families and everything, and you
right,
will prosper." And and that's what happened. And I just think that with every business, because I have another business and I've written a book. I think with every business, like you said, when it's something that I figured out could help somebody, and I profited as a result. And then when at first it's that profit because of where I was socioeconomically, it did do some
right,
things for me there. But now it's like, okay, the money is good. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, we
right,
all gotta eat and enjoy life. But now it's more about the fact that I love being able to say that my payroll has 57 people on it,
right,
that there are people who we have a small stipend for college students. We can help pay for your books, we can help pay for something else. We've had about 4 brides that worked for me, and then they eventually got married. And so
mhm,
as a gift to them, we told them, like, you help other people's wedding day be magical because you can create an environment for their children guests. So we want to gift you because you've done this so many times. And
right,
so our company will, if you're getting married, we'll pay for a service. So we've paid for a bar, we paid for dress alterations, we paid for all different things. Now you have a limit. We're not a large contributor to your wedding now,
right,
but
right.
we will catch a gap. And so it's just been a real blessing. But again, it's one of those things, I think, that it gave me having the business gave me the skill set to be bold, to not be scared to ask for something, and
But
then be prepared when they say yes.
think about it. I mean, like I say, your story to me is amazing, but you tell it so fluently and so naturally because it came together for you like that. And I know you had bumps in the road. I know, like you said, you had friends that didn't believe in you. But I think there's one word that you said early on that I think kind of encompasses everything, and that is passion. You had a passion to do this. You have a burning desire inside you. There's so many people now who don't know what they want to do, and they don't have passion about anything, and they don't have support systems. So what kind of support system did you have in your journey? I mean, what?
So, um, one of the biggest things that was huge for me was that my father was an entrepreneur. And so the idea of even owning your own business wasn't foreign to me. It was
Right,
like daddy did it. And I think a lot of times people don't support entrepreneurship or owning your own because they fear it. So they're just like, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it.
right,
And with me, it was like, oh, well, I could do this. Daddy did this. And did my dad ever become a millionaire owning a cleaning company? No. But I saw that he put me through college.
right,
He took care of his responsibilities. He owns his house. He owns his cars. He's retired,
right,
semi. Um, And so that having him there, knowing that you can trailblaze your own path, I think was huge for me, because I think some people can't see that. And if you
Right.
don't have someone encouraging that, then that's difficult in itself. As far as I can't speak enough about the incubator I went through. That was just incredible to have people who did not place judgment on you because maybe your business was so new. You weren't making tons of money, and for me, especially, I'm in what I call gap services, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're back when everybody was going to be an entrepreneur and everybody was blowing up and everybody was co-working and all that, people were really looking for technology companies.
Right.
And so I would go to networking and stuff like that, and I would tell them, "Oh, I own an on-site, a special occasion babysitting company." They'd be like, "Oh, that's not technology. That's not gonna blow up. Let me move on to somebody else." You can tell when someone's
Right.
talking to you and they looking past you, and I got a lot of that.
Right.
But still, I'm making money and I'm still here. A lot of those companies aren't here and they're not making money.
Right.
And it
Right.
was because like you said, I recognize something I need and other people would need too. And so saying that, I think that you have to be able to find some type of resources that won't judge you, but they're ready to help you. And
Right.
that's the difference. They don't have that, okay, I'm going to help you do this, but what can you do for me?
Right.
Am I going to take a piece of your business? Or are you going to make me look like I'm on top of it because you were part of my incubator? That type of thing. And there was a lot of that. I mean, at one point I was networking all the time, but I really wasn't making connections. And I realized that it was because of what I was networking with and who I was networking with. And you just have to be particular about that. Every year I pick a word. Every year I pick a word that I'm going to hold to through that year.
Mm-hmm.
And protect was my word for this year. And I was like, I'm going to protect my peace. I'm
Right.
going to protect
Right.
my strength. I'm going to protect my time. And I think that you have to protect your dream too, because you are going to have a lot of people who will try to take it away from you because they don't have one themselves. They
Right.
don't have the courage to go for it. Even with me expanding my businesses, going into other things, I had someone very close to me tell me, "Why do you act like that? Why do you always have to still prove yourself? You don't have to prove anything anymore." And it's
Right.
like, I'm not proving myself. I'm just
Oh,
intentional and purposeful. Every day I wake up with intention. Every day I have a purpose. Every day I have ambition, I have drive. And the days I don't, I just know tomorrow is another day and I need to get back up and do it.
maybe.
I'm one of these folks that I'm not like, oh, there's just so much time and I don't know what to do. I'm one of these people like, oh my gosh, I hope Jesus don't come yet. I got a couple more things I want to do. God, let me get these things.
Right. Right.
There's just so much in me, and I see so much opportunity, and and it's just about that passion. You got to latch on, and then you can do it. I remember when I first started Black Tie, I would go to weddings, specifically networking events, and people would be like, "What do you do?" And I would tell them, and they would look past me because I wasn't a wedding planner.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but just working hard and coming with our craft, now those same people the ones calling me, and maybe I'm not a wedding planner, but you still trying to get with the planners that I'm already working
Right.
with. You know what I'm
You
saying?
know,
So
when you talked
yeah,
about saying that people ask you, what you do, and you go
yeah,
in telling them the mechanics of your business, one of the things that I found out that I learned is when somebody asks you what you do, you tell them how you affect people's lives
that's
versus
right.
the mechanics of the business. You
That
know,
is it. If you ask me what Black Tie does, we make it so families can attend events together and parents can reclaim their social lives.
well,
That's
there
what
you
Black Tie
go. There
does.
you go. Give me your.
That's what we do.
I like that.
And so yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But I mean, it's a journey, and you know, sometimes I think, what are you going to do? When are you going to slow down? When are you going to decide this isn't what you want to do? And I'm just not there yet. I'm still having a good time with it, and I just and I to everybody who works, because this is when you and I talked about your podcast and what it's for, and we talked about It's for people who don't recognize or realize that there are people doing extraordinary things that are around them every day. And even more so, that you could be one of those extraordinary folks as
Yeah, the
well.
possibilities.
Yeah, and I think that one of the things is that we just tell ourselves that, oh, well, if it's not this, then I can't do it. If it's not going to make me $1 million, if it's not, a hair product, because that's what's making money right now. Everybody's creating hair products. Or I used to tell people in Dallas, everybody's a model or a producer. Okay. When you
Yeah,
meet people, I'm a model, or if you meet a guy, I'm a producer. Okay. Well,
right,
I'm neither one of those things. And I think that people need to learn how to permission themselves to, you can make something that no one else could care about
right,
important.
right.
And then once you do make that important, you'll see that it's important to other people and you created that attraction, right? And
You,
so
if you're real to yourself, you'll find your tribe.
you
If,
will.
if you're
And
not being if you're not being real, your tribe never finds you.
right,
You
right.
jump all
And
over
and
the place.
that's what, but that's a old school lesson. It took me 45 years to get to that point
Right,
where I wear what I want, I go where I want, and I do what I want. And there's nothing because somebody else wants to do it or I should do it, or what I'm saying. I wear glasses. And people are like, hope you don't want contacts. No, I'm wearing glasses. This is what you're gonna see is hope in
right,
glasses.
right.
I don't want to put contacts in my eyes. Um, I want you to know when you see me, yes, I'm farsighted. I can't see right here. So I'm gonna keep my glasses off for the duration of our time together. But yeah, I just think that because I launched another business 5 years ago.
Hmm.
And it was just again, it was one of those needs. And it's just always having that mindset of what can I do?
Right.
What can I do? Like almost like if you just constantly have Play-Doh in your hand, you're like, what can I shape? What can I form? And it was just like when I first started Black Tie, I left corporate America. I was like, you know what? I can't do this anymore. The level of stress, the time away from my kids. Like I said, I had the son that just got diagnosed with autism. I was like, I can't do this. I'm going to die by the time I'm 35 and not be here for my kids. So I was like, I got to go. So I did something radical, and it's not always that you have to do something radical, but I called my parents up and I was like, I need to live with you all. I need to let my house go and I need to live with y'all. That's it. And my mom was like, if you need to downsize, I'll co-sign on an apartment, but you're not living here. And my dad it was like,
Right.
this is your home. You
Yeah.
can come. And eventually we got her to come around. The grandkids did a lot to help with that.
Right.
But and so I moved with my parents and I quit corporate America and I got a job working at David's, which is crazy because David's is now going out of business. But I got a job with David's Bridal and I was thinking, ooh, when I get in these dressing rooms with these girls, I'm just gonna tell them about Black Tie and they're gonna hire my babysitting company. That never happened.
Didn't happen.
But while I was doing that job, while I was doing that job, I became the number one salesperson in the store, and I became one of the top salespeople in the Southwest region.
Right.
And I learned a lot. Was privy to some things, and one of the things I was noticing, I'm one of these people that are always looking. Like when I drive, I'm always looking at buildings. I'm always looking at billboards. It's because I'm a salesperson, right? So I'm thinking like, what does that business need to be sold? That's how my mind operates. But I just noticed that people would come in and get their wedding dresses steamed before the wedding or get their bridesmaid dresses steamed before the wedding. And then they would pay for the service and then they would put them back in the bag.
Hmm.
And I was like, that doesn't make sense. And I told my manager at the time, I said, I'm going to start a steaming business. I'm going to start going to people's weddings the day of the wedding and steam all their stuff there. So it
Right.
never comes out of a bag. Like it's ready to go, ready to wear. They don't have to worry about it. And I told her I was going to call it press on the premises. So everybody used to make jokes of when they see me, they'd be like, there's hope, And then a couple of years later, I launched that business. It's
Right.
not called Pop. It's called Black Girl White Dress. And I remember the first time somebody paid me $2,000 to steam their whole bridal party and the men's tuxes too.
Right.
So it's just one of those things that it does not have to be technology. It does not have to save the world. There is something that you are seeing every day, like you said, that you can solve for somebody else.
Right.
There's something that your job is teaching you a skill or showing you a hole or showing you an opportunity. You
Yeah.
know, when you're at work, don't hate it. Don't
Right.
hate it.
Right.
And I've had some horrible sales jobs. Don't hate it. See what you can take from it. It's
Right.
taking from you, you take from it.
Yeah.
And I took that from that job.
Right.
I took that from that job.
Right.
And
The other thing about that is you were bigger than that job. And that's how we move up. That's how we evolve to the next thing we do. We get in a position, you look at this position and be the best you can at that position. And then you determine how you can make that better. Then you determine who you are and what you want to be. And then you become bigger than where you were. That gives you more time to do what,
right,
you had time at that job to do what was expected of you, but also to grow, to learn, and absorb what was going on and come up and put your own spin on it.
right. And I think you just have to remain humble and you have to be willing to work hard. And I think that is a lesson that's not being taught to a lot of, especially young people when they see TikTok stars. They don't understand the amount of content these people are making every day, how much of their life they're devoting to
Right.
it. You have to work hard and you have to be humble.
Yeah.
And, I mean, a lot of people are like, "Hope, you're college educated. How are you selling wedding dresses?" I remember my first year, even being the number one salesperson in that store, I made $12,000.
Right.
And it was like, my base salary at that time was that I left was, in the 40s. Now, this is several years ago. Now, we know that's not real money now either, but
Right.
still. And you have to work on it, work at it. And then, the pieces come into place. But I think the number one thing is you cannot be have fear, and you just have to recognize opportunity, recognize the skills. I tell everybody, every job I've ever had has prepared me to be the boss that I want to be.
Right.
There's something from every business that I've learned as an employee that helped me to be the boss I want to be, or run my business the way I do. Um,
So I want to talk to you a little bit. I mean, you mentioned young people and you mentioned the TikTok culture, you mentioned all those type things. Sometimes I am curious about the future and how we're going to get from where we are to where we need to be. So what advice would you give a young person? Well, I tell you what advice would you give somebody coming out of high school? What advice would you give somebody coming out of college? Because there's some debate about whether people get the value from their college education or not,
right.
in the form of student debt and stuff like that.
Right, right. So those are really great questions. I'm glad you asked it. So one thing we hadn't talked about is that I am a school teacher. I still own my companies. They're still doing well. I am a school teacher because during COVID, when we shut down businesses, I started doing learning pods. That was still child inspired, working with children who were at home and their parents didn't have the capacity or the want to stay online and do their school with them. So they hired me and my company to have basically our sitter staff go in and help these kids with their online school. Right. And then I discovered I had a passion for teaching, but I also have a huge advocacy for literacy and childhood literacy, young adult literacy. So it just all culminated to now I'm a certified 4th through 8th grade English teacher, and I teach 8th grade. So I think that your question is the one that I'm answering for my kids every day. Why do I have to be here, Miss King? Why do we have to learn this work? This is stupid stuff. I'm just going to be on TikTok and make money. I don't need to learn all this stuff. So, what I would tell someone coming out of high school is don't be naive to how young you really still are. Being 18 isn't much. When you're coming out of high school, everybody's like, "Oh, you're graduating, you're starting the next chapter of your life, and you're going to college. Is this going to be the rest of your life?" Don't give too much credit to being 18 because you have been coddled, you have been helped, you have been in a structure. You
But
need
I'm
to humble
entitled. What are you
yourself,
talking about? I'm entitled. I didn't ask to
right?
be.
Right? You need to be, but you have to be humble because the thing is that when you get to college. And it's so apropos that Bill Cosby named a different world, because we've all been there. College is different. And you are now called on to call all the shots, you know? And the thing about college is, and I heard someone say this in a book because I'm an avid reader. Michelle Williams said this in her book, Checking In, that change is neutral. How we respond to it is negative or positive.
Right.
Understand? So you coming out of high school, you need to humble yourself and you need to understand that you coming out of your parents' house, out of a guardian's house, out of a classroom with teachers who, if you don't turn your assignment in, they're going to call. They're going to hold your hand. They're going to help you. They're going to push you through those credits so that you can get out of their school.
Right.
They can get what they need from you and you can get what you need from them.
Right.
If you go to college, that's a money scam. You have a dollar sign on your head. It's money for so many different, it's an industrial complex itself. Everybody's got a hand in that money. You know, you got the campus life, you got the college itself, you got the people who are financing these loans.
Yeah.
You're a dollar sign to all those people. And I'm not saying that they're not people in campus life, they're not people who are professors and TAs that don't care about your well-being, but understand the percentage of that that really actually happens.
Right.
So you have to be prepared. You have to be prepared to care for yourself, to humble yourself and learn all these lessons before you go, you know? And then to the person that is graduating from college, and I mean, this is real stuff right here. I have a son who is finishing his last 2 classes right now and will walk in December. I'm very proud of that. I tell everybody, before I knew I could be a mom, I was his. He was my first. He's 22. And there was a situation that had happened, and his grandparents on his dad's side paid for his school. They're very wealthy. And from the minute I popped him out, there was an endowment set up for him to go to school. And he made some changes in his degree that they did not appreciate. And so their punishment was, we're not going to pay for your school anymore. And my son, he came to me humbly and was like, Mom, I'm not going to put that financial strain on you. He was like, I know you have my siblings and, you know, you have the businesses and stuff like that. I don't need college. He's a day trader. So he makes money on the stock market. He knows how all that works. I don't know how it works, but he's good at it.
Right.
And he was like, I don't need college. People don't need degrees anymore, Mom. So I'm just going to walk away. And so I had to tell him, I said, if the only reason why you are considering not staying in school is because of money, you don't have a reason.
Mm.
And the reality is, as I said, there is something at college that it teaches you. College itself, right? It's not just what you sit in that classroom and learn. It's not those books. It's not those papers. The institution of college teaches you something. It's personified. College is its own being. Human being that mentors you and grows you up to learn how to balance studying and assignments and parties. Don't go to every party. Don't go to every party, right? But all that stuff, it's important. You know, now that they've started showing Different World on Hulu and TV1 and a couple other channels, I make my younger two, I have 2 younger ones, 16 and 14 at the house. I make them watch those episodes with me. Why? I want them to see the mentality and the challenges that these students go through.
Right.
And they may not go to college. I tell them, hey, you don't have to be an overachiever. It's expensive. If it's not for you, let me know before we get into it. Before we get into it, let me know. Because I have a daughter in college. So I have 2 in college right now. And but I mean, that's what I would say. Like, don't worry about so much what that degree will get you or what the degrees of separation have taught you.
Right.
Is what I would say to somebody who is about to graduate. And also I would say the same thing I would say to that 18-year-old. Don't think you have it all figured out. Don't think you got it. because you know.
Yeah,
I
that's
remember
right.
myself graduating from college. I even had a son. I had this son that's about to graduate from college. And I was like, okay, taking on my responsibilities. I'm into this adulthood thing. And I had so much more growing to do. So
Yeah.
much more growing to do. And I think that now I'm to the point where life has stopped having to teach me lessons.
Hmm.
And now I'm selecting the lessons I want to learn.
Right. But that's
That's
what's important. We
that's where I'm at.
have to continue growing our whole life. We got to continue learning. We got to continue evolving. You got to continue to pay attention and see what direction we want to go and make choices and take action at the same time. You
It's
can't.
that make choices and that take actions. That part. I mean, that's one of the biggest problems I have in my eighth graders. They'll tell me, I'm gonna do better, miss, because I'm always miss. I don't know why. Or bruh. And I'm always like, I'm a missus every day. Don't call me bruh, but I'm gonna do better. I'm gonna do better. Okay, you're saying that with your mouth, but are you taking those actions?
Yeah.
Are you? Because I'm only here to help you succeed. But if you don't want it for yourself, then I'm not going to put in the work. That's what I've had to tell them.
So what percentage of the eighth graders do you see um, taking advantage of or either being inspired by where they are right now, what you're offering them, the ideas that you're putting forth to them, you know,
I think that, and I don't want to do an indictment on parents, because I'm a parent myself and it's really hard. And I know that people could have looked at me at different stages in my kids' lives and what they were doing and been like, you're a horrible mom. You know what I'm saying? Your kids is crazy, and
right, right.
different things. But the thing that I'm seeing is that parents are so preoccupied by making sure their kids have everything,
Mm,
they're giving them empty things.
right,
They're not giving them themselves. One of the things that I did this year is I won a grant through the Education Foundation for the school district I work through to start a father's book club
mm,
group. And it's because typically with women, and I am guilty of this, school, that's my ship. You don't come over here. I run all this. I have all the conversations with the teachers. I know what all my kids are doing. I know where their shortcomings are, and I talked about the strategy to fix. And a lot of men are put in the position where they step back and they're like, "Oh, well, my wife take care of that." But I
right,
make sure my kids eat. I make sure they have nice clothes, nice things, and so. But I wanted to give an opportunity for fathers to be able to take part in social emotional learning for their kids. They
right.
need you to give them emotional support, encouragement. They need you to understand what they're going on. So I started Feed, which is fathers emotional empowerment. No, Feed is not father, sorry. It's for the emotional empowerment of dads. Feed, because so many dads are like, if I feed my kids, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do.
Right.
That yes, they do need to eat physically, but they need you so much more emotionally. And so that's why we have that. And um,
It is
you know,
so amazing that a woman came up with that idea. You know what I'm saying? I want to talk to you more about that because I may want to try to be involved in that kind of understanding.
absolutely, absolutely. Well, I think that part of that, me being involved in that, is that I am a boy mom. So I have three sons. They're 22, 16, and 14.
Right,
And my hope is that one day these people will be true leaders of their households, true
right.
leaders, that they will be important pillars of our community. And so I need to pour into that. I need to, and I think that that people don't permission boys to have emotions. They don't permission boys to, right now, because I do teach reading and writing, I'm reading an incredible book about giving boy writers, helping them reclaim their voices.
Right,
Because what I didn't even realize that some of the topics, especially younger boy writers want to write about is like gross stuff, um, weapons and fighting and
right,
passing gas and stuff. And most English teachers like, no, take that back. You cannot turn that in. And that's stifling them. And that might be the topic today, but that interest that sparked now will stay with them, and as they grow and mature, they could be writing beautiful work. If you think about the work that's been given to us, and if you're in my class, you're reading Langston Hughes,
Right.
you're
Right.
reading James Baldwin. I don't wait for the school district to approve.
Mhm.
I hope you're not on here, y'all. But so that is what we're reading, and so I just found that passion. Again, one of those things. I tell you, there's just not enough time. I pray every day, God,
I
give your
tell
time.
you, this interview has exceeded my expectations, and it has sparked so many ideas for so many other conversations that we could go on forever and ever.
We could, because
So
I'm a talker.
we are definitely gonna have to do this again. Um, you know, I could sit here and talk to you for a couple of hours, but people are not gonna watch a 2-hour podcast.
Right.
So we're gonna have to do it
Unless you're me.
again. We may have to break it up into segments.
Right.
There's a million other questions, a million other things I'd love to talk to you about. But one of the things that I do on a lot of the podcasts is I give you the power to change something in the world.
I accept it, and I'm gonna try to get it done. Um,
You could snap your finger and change things.
if I could change anything, I think I wish I could take away sadness, because I think that is such a hole for so many people. Because I've even been there before. Like,
Right,
even though I feel like I can be this dynamic, like, fire starter type
right.
of personality.
Got you.
If I'm sad, then I'm just like, it silences me. As much as I love to talk, if I'm sad, that's when my parents know something's wrong. They're
Yeah,
like, why are you being quiet? Like, what is going on? Even
right.
my kids, like, Mom, are you okay? Like, because I'm just, and I wish I could take that away,
Yeah,
because sadness is so real, and it comes to everybody in so many shapes and forms, and it can really devastate you. It can devastate uh, your dreams. It can usurp your power.
it affects your health,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Like, you not wanting to eat and not wanting to
mental health.
exist. And
Yeah,
yeah, all of that. So if I could take that away from everybody, I would love to do that.
cool. Like I say, Faith, I mean, Hope, Charity.
Thanks for my club name.
Hope, I tell you, like I say, I've really enjoyed this, and we're gonna definitely have to do this again. And we're definitely got to reconnect because I think we can do some powerful things together.
Yes. Yep.
We get to talk about your book, so I guess that's gonna be on the next episode. And but yeah, I really do appreciate you. Like I said, this was amazing. It's amazing.
Good.
I hope
Well, awesome.
we hope we get a chance to do it again sometime.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. Lately I've just kind of been in my closet working away like a mad scientist on expanding my businesses and working on my craft as a teacher. So this was really good for me to be able to get back to where I kind of talk about my business and my experience more.
Right. And if I can ever be of help, let me know. You got my
I'm
number.
gonna call. We already have a project on the books. We already have something that we need to get done. I need to get it done.
Okay,
Yeah.
lady. You have an amazing rest of your day.
All right.